Good morning, everybody, and welcome to The Rest is Lean again. So you're back, which is good. And thank you to everybody who subscribed to our podcast already. Really, really nice. Hello from me, John D. And down there, who's that?
Down there on me is you, Alan.
This has all gone terribly wrong already.
Russell. So, since you spoke first, Russell, you go next.
Hello.
And good morning.
That's Russell. That's Russell down there, boys and girls.
No, I'm up here. I'm up here, gents.
Oh, the technology skills are amazing on this channel, aren't they?
Although I do want to show you this.
Just let him do it, John. He's absolutely desperate to show this.
This is Russell's version of share screen.
This is like
school. The hype here, Russell, because you've been telling me online for weeks I'm going to enjoy this. So go on then.
No, I'm not doing it now.
Please share your screen, Russell. I'd love to see your screen.
No, it's show and tell at school. I'm an eager primary school child. I've bought in something really interesting, perhaps a hamster with a gimpy leg or something, and you're the teacher who's just shouted me down. So it's not going to happen. Move on, John.
You obviously didn't go to private school then, Russell.
No,
I feel we've triggered him.
No, comprehensively poor.
We'll maybe come back to Russell's hamster later when he's recovered.
Depends if Alan's behaved or not.
I'll behave myself now. Come on.
Look after the big kids.
I'm a good
boy. Boys and girls. So, nice to be back again. And we should just start off with what we've been up to over the last couple of weeks since we chatted. So, Al, where have you been? What you've been up to? What's happening in your world, mate?
Well, you guys probably know I've literally just come back from good old Down Under. So I had 3 amazing weeks in Australia. So covered quite a bit of ground, really. Started off in Sydney, ended up in Melbourne, went to Canberra on the way, and a few other places, and absolutely thoroughly enjoyed the experience, both on a professional level and on a personal level. Absolutely fantastic country.
Yeah.
The big takeaway for me was we talked briefly in episode 1 about the cultural aspect. Yeah. I just found the people who I was not working with, but meeting up with, rather, shall I say, I would say there's a lot more empathy. All right. They're a very, very laid back nation. All right. Yeah. You still get the job done. Yeah. And the other big one for me is just the amount of space they've got to play with. The country is huge, and you don't really put it, it just pales the UK into insignificance in terms of size. I mean, I think something you can put the whole of Europe in Australia or something like that.
Yeah. Used to be like 17 million people. It's probably mid-20s million now, is it?
Yeah. Exactly.
But they're all crowded to the coast.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and we were quite lucky because obviously while we were travelling, obviously going from Sydney to Canberra and then Canberra to Melbourne, we saw the best of both worlds. We saw the coast, and we did the inside. So we had a really good taste of both. But absolutely enjoyed the experience. I was just saying to John earlier on, Ross, I'm probably about 36 hours in. I'm just trying to get my body clock back in sync.
Is that why you were being nasty to me a minute ago? Because you're not.
No, that's just you, Russ. That's all it is.
So, Russell, what's been happening in your world, mate?
So various clients, working with a Japanese automotive business on their leader standard work. I put it in with them years ago, and now we're refreshing it. So I've been working with coaching supervisors, managers, and the senior team. Working with a chemicals company, which is interesting. Training team leaders. Doing a bit of coaching and managers. Chemicals is fascinating. I've not done much in chemicals. Mm-hmm. I've been primarily aerospace, construction, automotive, food and drink, plastics.
Primarily.
Kind of yeah, chemicals is brilliant. It is like cooking. It's high capex, isn't it? Highly capital intensive and recipes, and also some pretty aggressive chemicals. We launched some more courses on our new platform, Sempai Guide, which is good. Mm-hmm. And working with a startup as well. Got a really good EV solution for charging. Got some nice IP there. Just attracted £20 million in Series A funding, and they're subcontracting the manufacture And so I'm helping them set up the site in Ireland, which so it's all very varied, interesting.
Very good. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, we're lucky, aren't we? I often say to people, thing about being running your own business or being freelance is you get the variety, and you can earn a good income.
Yeah.
But it's not for people who need the blanket of employment, the warm blanket of employment, and knowing where the work is coming from, and
Yeah.
the mortgage is getting covered in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable not knowing that, then that's the life, isn't it?
Yeah. It's exciting in every regard.
Yeah.
Excellent
But
stuff.
a bit later, I'd like to tell you about a supervisor cell leader I was shadowing this week, because it's you forget stuff and then you remember what you've forgotten. But carry on.
Yeah.
What have you been up to, John?
Well, thank you very much for asking, Russell. That's very good of you. Yeah, so I've had a very full and unusual week. I finished off the last little bits of activity in connection with some work I was doing in an airport on nights with some construction teams, just observations, work study, that sort of stuff. For me, that was very good as a reminder that when I'm in businesses, I very often talk to people about you've got to break down the silos. You've got warehouse team, a logistics team, and production team, and that's great. Be a team.
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't actually remember they've all got the same goal and work together.
Funnily enough, that's connected to my point. But carry on.
I think there's probably a linkage. And although I'm in companies very often who have night shifts and various shifts, I think I'd forgotten to what extent a night shift team, a true nights, never come on days team, can be a completely different business. And I don't necessarily mean bad. I just mean different, with a slightly different culture, a slightly different idea of what's important and what's not important.
And
That's
they
a
often feel like
silo
a
to
poor
break
relation,
down.
don't they? And they often feel like a poor relation. They seem to have a fractured relationship towards the management team, and that's that they like not being on days because they like not getting tied up in meetings and being visited, but they also resent the fact that they don't see the management team and they feel unloved, quite rightly.
They
And
never
of
tell
course,
us anything, and we wouldn't go if they asked us.
and of course, the thing about being on nights, two really interesting things is, number one, I think the research is that if you do it for a long period of time, it can strip a good 7 years off your life.
Mm.
And that's something to do with melatonin, one of the
That's
two.
your hair.
Oh, okay. John, have you
I
been
could be
working
wrong
nights
on
long?
that, but I'm pretty sure that's your hair. But it make nights. You heard it here, folks. Nights makes your hair fall out.
And the second thing, John, really interesting. If I want to see how lean a business is, if I'm off to see a business for the first time, then I'll arrive before shift starts, and I'll stay over the shift break, because if you want to see how mature a culture is, you look at the break points.
Yeah.
But then if you go on to nights, all of the hard work that happens in the day, all of the controls, you quite often see a different story on nights. Not because people don't want to, but because you end up having a very lean business for like 2/3 of the clock day.
Yeah.
And so there is often a bigger flow out risk on nights, or a bigger risk of accidents, because it's just a difficult place to work.
Yeah.
So just on that note there, John, you said about with regards to the nights. So obviously, as you guys know, I obviously went into senior leadership roles for a good few years, and that is one point that Russell made was about the fact that there's some really great people on night shift, but they have one key gripe, because they don't see the leadership team.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was one thing I've made sure throughout my leadership career, is you make sure you involve nights just as much as you involve days. And I know being a senior leader is a tiring job. You've got a huge responsibility for a number of people. And I wanted to make sure. So the team that I had, I said, look, guys, I can't force you, all right, but understand where we're going as a team. Okay. And they crave to see us. The night shift are no different to any other shift. Okay.
Would you do that? would you do that early morning or the end of your day?
I used to mix it up, to be honest with you, Russ. So I actually didn't. So I had a fixed time in the leader standard work, which I'm sure will be another topic. Okay, so they knew when they can come in, and secondly, we used to do random ones, and I used to set on average probably at least once a month that a member of my team would have to go in and would go in and see the guys just to make sure there was opportunity there. But then on top of that, they've always got the access to email, etc., through the course of the the day, week, and month. But there's nothing better than doing face to face. And we used to have part of like works councils and things like that, just making sure that whatever you do on days, you've got to mimic it on nights as well.
Yeah, but which is tricky when it comes to things like upskilling and coaching and lean training, because you got to really make an effort to adjust your times to fit both of you. But there's definitely a benefit to rotating people, back onto days. But it's again, it's disruptive for a small but tight and multi-skilled nights team as well. It's such a and anyway, John,
that's also a lesson, though, isn't it? But if nights need training, but we always drag the nights into the days. The stretch generally happens in that the night shift move around, and you've got to mix it up and balance it with people from days moving into nights to make that happen, because otherwise you're just reinforcing, it's nights, they're different, they're not on the right shift.
Spot on, John.
Change.
And also, you're not going to Gemba. So if you want to understand how the business operates throughout the 24-hour clock, go to Gemba. It doesn't just mean geographically the same physical space. It means being in that physical space at different times of the day. Because as we said a minute ago, it'll operate differently, and you have to understand that set of circumstances.
I mean, I think the literalist translation, as much as any Japanese words translate, Gemba is where it happens.
The real place kind of thing.
Like you say, that where it happens might be at 3 a.m. in the broom cupboard. And without the 3 a.m. bit, you haven't been Gemba. You haven't actually been where it's happening, when it's happening, to experience it and get that moment.
John, have you been in broom cupboards at 3 a.m. much?
I try to avoid them. I find 3 a.m. is the dodgy time to be in a broom cupboard, if I'm honest. 12 p.m. That's your sweet spot.
Do you know, I was skinned as a student once, and I worked.
Hello. This ain't going to be one of those favours for sailors stories, is it?
No, it's a Boris Becker broom cupboard. No, it isn't. I worked night shift at Pork Farms. This was way before I got into manufacturing, and I was stacking pork pies, unstacking pork pies for 12 hours a night, and it was a really useful bit of observation experience before I needed it, to get a feel for what it's like to be really tired, and then to try to sleep in the daytime. I don't know how that morphed into. I don't know how we got from Alan being nasty to me, and then
you're not going to let that lie, are you?
No. and then John,
we got the title for the podcast. Alan was nasty to me. Episode 3.
I'm keeping a tally table. Times Alan is nasty to me, and times I'm nasty to Alan. And so far it's 14-0 to you, Al.
Advantage.
I think you need to watch the previous 2 episodes again, mate. I'm sure there's something for you there. Anyway, no, it's a really good, seriously, mate. A really good point that is on the night shift, because they're I know everybody is essential to the workings of a good business, but night shift, we have to appreciate they do work differently. A lot of people who work night shift for a long period of time, in my experience, are quite different animals and are quite comfortable with the night shift. I get the potential health side effects longer term. In my experience, and other people who are listening in might take a different tack on this, but I do find them a lot more productive if they're treated well, and the leadership team understand that they're not like second-class citizens just cast to one side and hidden away, out of sight, out of mind, that sort of thing. So
John, can we ask the viewers, listeners, if anybody works on an in any capacity on a night shift anywhere in manufacturing and has a really good relationship with the day shift. How
Yeah.
have they made that happen? Because I'm
Yes,
really
please. Yes,
Yeah,
please.
I
I
mean,
think that would be a good learning point, not only for all of our viewers, but for us too. We
yeah.
can really learn from that. It is, I mean, every day you're learning, but sometimes these little fringe topics are kind of the most interesting ones. So much spiders out of them.
Yeah.
I find that very often a night shift team, to your point about Alan probably being more productive,
mhm.
sometimes they are, I would say I'll describe them as more self-sufficient because they have to be.
Mm.
Sometimes the leadership is on nights a little braver because they're prepared to make the decision because otherwise it's, I don't know, boys, I'll have to ask a grown up tomorrow, so just stop. So they tend to, I don't know, a little bit self-sufficient, a little bit braver, it's more self-contained, and also that operatives tend to rally round their leaders on nights a little more because of that. They kind of recognize it.
Yeah.
Very often there's not full maintenance support, for instance, on nights or full warehouse and logistics. So if you haven't got all the materials you need to do certain tasks, getting them can be right. You, torches, you, break the security.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not saying you or recommend this sort of stuff, but yeah, there's that sort of team ethic that's built out of necessity, almost siege mentality on nights.
Well,
Um,
you've touched on a really important thing there, John, and I'm hoping we cover it in a different episode. But escalation. Um,
mm,
Mm.
when I'm working with harassed team leaders or supervisors, particularly cell leaders, group leaders, and managers, one of my initial questions is always, what are the escalation protocols? What do your team leaders and cell leaders know when they should be escalating to you, and how long they have to sort a problem? So, for example, if you get 3 defects in a row or 5 in an hour, then escalate to me. If you have a breakdown, you've got 15 minutes.
yeah.
You have a go and then tell me on a key machine, because I quite often find that the harassed feeling, the inability to step back, take a breath, and manage the patch for a supervisor and a manager is because everything is getting escalated or nothing is getting escalated, and then the world's on fire. Um,
Mm,
and it's got worse in our digital era because it's so easy now to communicate, to rip off a text. I was talking to an ops manager some time back, a senior ops manager, and I was helping him to coach his team leaders. And the first thing we did was set up 5 scenarios, typical scenarios in that business where you decide what to escalate. And also, when you escalate, bring the right information so that somebody isn't saying, I've got a problem, I need help.
yeah.
But he said, but the first port of call is assume the phone network is down, to force people to think rather than just escalate everything.
Mm,
Escalation is critical.
If it's too easy, it'll happen. People will naturally take the path of least resistance, in my humble opinion.
John, I don't think you actually finished how your last couple of weeks has been, or do you want to move on?
John, sorry, I was going to say, in terms of your night shift in the airport,
yeah.
uh, airports are a very, very different world, aren't they?
It's an alien world to me.
Absolutely.
As somebody who generally doesn't like to fly unless they have to, very alien world. But yeah, it does bring in all sorts of nuances and challenges. Like, I'll just pop round that corner and view from there. Oh, you can't. Why not? Well, you've just left the UK. Pardon? Landside versus airside. You've got to go through security, which might mean walking half a mile in the wrong direction to step across an imaginary dotted line. Yeah, they're a different world, full of interest.
Yeah.
They're a wonderful thing.
And there's
Um,
plenty
How they
of room
work
covers
is
at 3
amazing.
o'clock in the morning in the airport as well.
John, your point about it reminded you that different functions should all be working towards the same goal.
Mm,
That echoed what the point I wanted to make, which was that where I'd spent a day shadowing a supervisor this week, he was up in the main office. He was on the shop floor. in a mezzanine.
Yeah.
And because I'm shadowing him, we're looking at how to shape the role in the future with some digital stuff to strip away non-value added work and to free up more time for things, doing his confirmation work and doing some Kaizen work, by taking away the usual Excel burden and things like that. But what was nice was that he sat here working, and the planner's there, the maintenance person's there, the molding technician is there, and there's a quality person here.
Yeah.
And because I was there for 8 hours, and we were up and down to the Gemba and back, rather than just dropping in to see somebody and spending an hour with them alone, I got to see the interactions. And it reminded me the pure value of something that in Japanese is called waigaya. There is a, like teams sharing the same space, they can't help but communicate better because at the very least they overhear each other's conversations. They get a snippet of change points or of an issue. The bloom will go up earlier for them and they can have a quick chat.
Yeah.
But I was gate charting the interactions in the end, and the tiny little interactions that would have saved problems and improved communication. Why Gaia is interesting. Why Gaia? It's from Japanese. Why Gaia Gaia? I mean, chit chat, and it's a space, an anchored space on the shop floor, where anybody from the Gemba can walk into, and you speak as an equal. You can speak openly.
Yeah.
Rank is put to one side, and so that your point about teams is really important because I spent most of my life with operations and materials, and I sometimes forget the rest of the team.
Yeah. It's quite interesting that one space, everybody, the leaders of all the functions in that one space, literally probably facing each other across a joined desk.
Yeah.
It does put me in mind of how many very small companies I've worked with, maybe startups, who are so effective and so efficient, and you say, oh, these guys are going to take over the world. One jumps to mind from many years back was a company called Gripple. I think they still exist.
They do.
Like wire tensioning things, yeah.
£100 million turnover now, John.
Yeah. I made the first little serrated drums that fit inside their cam operated. They make wire connectors for fences and stuff like that. And you push the wires in and they cam and grip. And when I was at GKN, we used to make powder metallic sintered little drums for them, the very first ones. They probably moved on. But because we were developing it, I was in and out of their office quite often. And it really was, there's the bloke who invented it. These are the two guys who joined in, and I'll put a fiver into that. And the business was really, a couple of rooms. And you did get that impression, oh, this is so slick, so efficient, it's great.
Yeah.
This is not a reference to Gripple now because I've got no idea how things moved on. But companies get bigger and their first step is, oh, we can afford an office. Ow, you can have your own office. Oh, brilliant. I'll have an office over here and a nice view out the window and all the rest of it. And that first step to big boy company probably isn't a step up in efficiency or effectiveness of that business, because you grow and you lose the bit that made it work in the first place. Is let's just muck in and make it happen. One team, all for one for all. And then companies mature and maybe the most senior guys still want some varnished wood and around them and a nice window and golf club in the corner. But the majority of the people who make a difference day by day are told you should get back into a shared office space and hot desks and open plan, and the efficiency comes back up. I think there's a size effect.
Well, John, I think Gripple might be the exception. I have no commercial interest in Gripple. I do no work with them, but I did judge
Other
them.
wire connectors are probably available.
They are, yeah. But Gripple do still make wire connectors. I did judge them on the TMOX Manufacturer Awards for OPEX 2 years ago, and they were immense. We ended up giving them the prize, and it was the 100 million turnover, and the culture was still as described by you. It was fascinating. It may be the fact that there'd be lots of things going into it. They're distributed across 6 sites in the Sheffield area, 6 or maybe 7. And the owner of the business has essentially handed the business over to the employees in terms of ownership.
Nice.
So everybody has some good skin in the game. It's a
Yeah.
really that might be the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
Just on that note about as you grow, you sort of having the shiny new office, you then create, as you grow, departments as opposed
Layers.
to individual people. And that's quite a critical point, in my honest opinion, for a business. I don't know if you remember this, but I don't know whether it was IF days or whether it was something else where I learned this, is when a business gets to roughly the 10, 15 million pound turnover is when it starts to change generally, very generally speaking. But when you create departments, that's when, going back to your much earlier point, Russell, that's where departments can then become silos. And then
Mm.
to break that back down again, almost re-engineer your organizational design of the business.
Yeah.
But I understand why businesses find that a tricky transition to make when they start getting that sort of size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that chemical company I'm working with at the moment, they're currently 10 million. They're going to 25 million because of the demand for their product, very specialist, in 3 years. And it's fascinating the roadmap they have to go through. Uh, they don't want to lose the stuff that made them special, the secret sauce, but they do have to systemize a bit more and develop capability because you can have people who are called team leaders but aren't actually doing a team leader role when you're a £6 million turnover because the ops manager still does the controversial stuff like they'll challenge behavior or they'll do the development and what have you. But when you get to 20, 25 million, you need team leaders who act as team leaders, and you
Yeah.
need other people who will take more responsibility. And I think I'll find that getting the senior team to step back will be as big a issue as anything else to create the space
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
people to step up to.
Sometimes people don't want to let go. It's their baby, even though that would be to the benefit of the business, to the benefit of them, and would keep things rolling. But if you're the one who thought, I've got this idea,
Yeah.
why would you ever step away from it? It's
I like,
selfish, and you can't really criticize it either. It literally is their business,
yeah, I
but it
quite like
does hold a lot back.
Yeah, it's a good point. I quite like that. I'd prefer if I see business and they don't want to let go. You guys might think differently to this, but I actually see that as a positive in the sense of they're actually very passionate about the role. They care
Mm,
about it.
mm,
Okay. Is if they're just happy just to drop it, that's not good enough to man the beast in terms of if they just want to drop it. There's got to be a transition. And there's a level of development of the people coming through within the organization to get them to a certain level where they can take over,
yeah,
so to
yeah,
speak.
Yeah.
And that transition for people can be very, very difficult. So going back to Russell's point before, you might have the best operator doesn't necessarily make the best team leader. The
no,
most time served person doesn't naturally mean an automatic progression into the next role.
yeah,
So it's quite difficult for a business, I think, when they're going, if they're going to truly succeed longer term as they're growing, it actually there's a lot of learning to take on board on how to develop people so
yeah.
that continuity exists moving forward.
Yeah.
There's
But you
probably
can't.
a book in it somewhere where how to make that transition from gang of people making something happen initially to that next step, as you said, departments, and then needing leaders for them departments,
I don't
and
know if you remember.
avoiding the temptation to take the shy, retiring, very knowledgeable, fantastic welder and making him head of production because we mainly weld, and you've got a shy, retiring, sticks to himself, knows all about welding guy trying to manage a load of folk.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's huge growing pains to avoid ruining your own company or creating these silos.
But John, that's where we have a role to play because we can be bland and vanilla here. And
Mm,
when helping to develop capability and operations people, we can just give a massive list of things that they should be able to do. It's a bit like, if you want to get washboard abs, do this, that, and the other. But we have to We have to look at what's in front of us. What are the strengths and weaknesses, capability of the current team, and what 2 or 3 things, specific things for that business, where they are with that kind of product and culture will help. For example, I was working with a company down in London, 6 team leaders, they're growing, and the team leaders were team leaders in name alone. I seem to talk about team leaders a lot.
Mm.
And having spent time with them, assessed their skills, walked the Gemba with them all, I came to the conclusion that there were 3 ways that these team leaders would most beneficially step up for them and the business, aligning their needs in the business. The first one was they need a board, a small board, where they own their own plan versus actual, where their manning is and the skills are, and their SQD, any problems they have. And that board, they have to talk the management team through on a simple boardwalk every day. The board is just a Trojan horse. It's a Trojan horse to get them to own their area, to own their board, and to start to feel like they have control of their destiny.
Yeah.
Second thing was they have to maintain their own work area because they were 30% working with a decent 5S. And the third thing was that they have to do a once a shift, 5-minute starter shift brief where they are briefing their team. I don't care how good it is. I'll give them a structure and show them out. But there is something about if you want someone to step up on the Gemba as a leader, you get them marshalling their troops at the start of the shift and having a 2-way conversation, but they are stood and they're gathered around.
2-way important there, Ross.
Yeah. But a different business, they would have been 3 completely different things. There is no copy and paste here.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that's what our clients deserve from us, not copy and paste.
Yeah. If you're going to get any value out of this sounds like a dirty word, and I'm applying it towards consultant. I actually find clients almost hesitating to call me a consultant. It's as if I'm insulting you. I'm sorry. I can't think of a better word. Yeah, we are. The only way to get real benefit from a consultant is if you're asking a consultant to look at you and make comments about what you are really like as a business or individuals, and then tailor some sort of solution. If you're asking them, as we will often be asked, Alan, can you come in and teach us how to do 5S, please? And I'd like 2 days on it. And I'd like the version with these S words. Well, you could get a video for that. What you really want is somebody who can tailor and bespoke. Don't give them 5S. What you're trying to achieve.
Yes. What's the problem you're trying to solve?
Yes. And it might be a flavor of 5S is part of that solution, but nobody needs 5S. Some people need their business to look like it's professional. Some people need to be able to find the work after they've made it. Some people need to just stop the leaks in the ceiling of people falling on rusty spikes. They're all things. And 5S is just a title of a tool that a lot of people have heard of. If we're doing our jobs right, it's just got to be a tailored solution for the individuals and the company you're looking at based on what you need. And we can subtitle it and a side order of 5S just to help people digest.
And I would say what we do is a model, not a script.
He's gone all smooth and slick again.
That's the filter, John, on my camera. But it is, though. It's true. It's like you said, you can't go into one organisation. We've been there so many times before. You go into one organisation, it's not a sheep dip approach. We see. I mean, let's be honest. In our 25+ years, we've been doing this. Yeah. How many times do you see from afar in other organisations where, shall we say, there are people out there ringing the same bell and are just doing. Dropping them through, rolling them out. But from a sustainability point of view, it's worthless.
Yeah.
You gain no responsibility. The business gains no continuity or ongoing sustainability if all you're going to do is just sheep dip people.
Yeah. Buy the book, watch the video. You'll get 95% of the same result as a live version of that, or share what's going on in your business and get a second opinion on how maybe to approach it, and maybe some help in doing it.
The art is the intricacies when you're in a business. And again, we've mentioned this in a previous episode, where with the experiences that we've had, to be able to walk into a business the first time and make some decisions based on the information you're seeing with your eyes, okay, in terms of what do they really need, and more importantly, how should we go about it?
Yeah.
Again, I'm not saying have a preconceived idea, again, because your initial thoughts may change when you have conversations with, for example, the team leaders on the shop floor, or the managers within the team, okay? But we've been around the block enough times to realise actually there's certain comments or certain mannerisms that we see in certain businesses. Actually, we need to be mindful of this. Oh, that's a strong point. This is something, and it gives us a sense of direction on how to approach that particular scenario, as opposed to just coming in and saying, look, what we're going to do is this, and then this, and then this, and expect the same outcome to happen in the previous 5 other businesses that we've been into. It just isn't going to work.
Yeah, that's why, Al, we've all spent time around Toyota and Japanese businesses. One of the biggest learnings I had from my time working with consulting to Toyota Group was self-reliance. The highest level of skill is self-reliance, and that doesn't mean, and I think you said it earlier, that doesn't mean that you have a perfect high level of Toyota production system skill. What it means is you can see clearly. And see clearly means that when you're in your business, you're able to stand back a little. You can see the gap. You can size the gap. Now, you might need help to fill the gap. It doesn't mean you have the complete tool set to fill the gap, but you can see clearly. The rose-tinted spectacles come off. But it's so hard to see clearly. It's hard enough for us to see clearly, and we are guests in businesses. So when we wander around, even our minds are full of monkey chatter, and we're trying to work out stuff, and we're distracted by stuff.
Yeah.
But it's easy for us. We haven't got to run that business. So the thing about self-reliance means you can clearly diagnose the issue. That, I think, is the overall skill that not having a copy and paste lifestyle leads to.
Yeah. It's very, very telling that the words and phrases you use then, Russell, brings back listening to my sensei, the guy who trained me, Ryo-san. And I remember telling him once upon a time, I want to be a really good lean expert like you are, Ryo-san. Blowing smoke. And he said, this is a wrong phrase, and stop blowing smoke. Wrong phrase. He says, you don't want to be a lean expert. Lean's easy. I mean, look, you get it. He was very condescending at times. He said, what you want to be is a clean thinker. Says, that's what people want. That's what people need. That's why they've asked Ryo-san to come in and look at their business, because I'm going to go, that's stupid. Because he's just a clean thinker. He can see the logic. He can see the waste. He can see without but he doesn't like him bits of it. We've traditionally never done that. Just be a clean thinker. I think that's probably what we bring as lean consultants to the piece, let's say.
Try to bring, John, because we still got all our own sets of biases, our confirmation biases, our recency biases. We bring it all, but we just have to be aware that, hang on, is this truly what I'm seeing?
Yeah. Bit of clean thinking.
Right. Talking of clean, John, this screen behind us, yeah?
Oh, screen share time.
Screen share time. I've got over it. I've picked up my toys, and they're back in the pram.
He's cured.
Thank you, Russell. Appreciate it, my friend.
I think we need to work on our marketing, because I don't know what you two are hiding underneath those sweaters and pullovers. But if you look at, can you see us in the top there?
Yes, I can see our logo. Yeah.
It's not an eye test, is it?
This is on YouTube, right?
Right.
There's us. The rest is lean.
Yeah.
How to stay lean for the rest of your life. How I got shredded. How to get washboard abs in 7 days. If We are in the wrong environment.
No.
Johnny,
I'm liking it. I want
stand up,
people
John,
to.
and pull your top up and prove to me that we're sat in the right home on YouTube.
Do you not know what the next episode is going to be about, Russ? We've not told you.
Oh, is that why John sent me Speedos in the post?
And I've done nothing but wear budgie smugglers for the past 3.5 weeks. Anyway.
And that brings me to the Rest is Lean calendar for 2025.
Remember, Christmas is coming up.
It's top tip time. Okay, so we're approaching the end of this particular episode of the podcast, guys. And we do like to end and wrap these things up with a little hint or tip or a tool for our listeners and viewers to take away and try over the weeks and months ahead. Russell, let's go for you this time. Have you got a little something that folks can try out?
Funny you should ask, John, but I have.
Very good.
I've been thinking about this a lot this week. So it's related to the supervisor I was shadowing this week. And I was watching how he was working throughout the day, particularly how he was responding to his team leader when he got things escalated to him or questions to him. And this supervisor is a really clear thinker, so makes good decisions. That's never really my interest. That's like a ticket to the game. I'm interested in, is he developing his team leaders to make good decisions? So towards the end of the day, this was the third time it had happened. His team leader came up to him, smart team leader she is, and she said, the content doesn't matter, but she said, should I do this, that, or the other? No, should I do this? And he said, no, do that. Because he's very good at giving the answer, because he thinks clearly. And as I was wrapping up with him afterwards, I made him a mental note and I said, you can't do this all the time, but please do this sometimes. I know you're a strong supervisor. I know you think clearly, but my interest is in, are you developing people beneath you to think clearly? Because I've been working with him over the years and the others for 3 or 4 years. So I have rapport with him. I said, my interest in judging your development is looking at the people that are working for you. Said, so when your team leader comes to you and says, and the world isn't on fire, and says, what should I do? Your first response should always be, what do you think?
Yeah.
You can't do it all day long because you wouldn't get anywhere, but do it regularly. What do you think? And ask for 3 possible paths if you don't get anything out of them, and then ask them to justify the one they want to take, and then give it a yes or a no and guide them. I said there are 3 reasons for doing this, and some of them benefit you. The one reason is, firstly, you are no longer developing team leaders who are chicks waiting for a worm to be dropped in their mouth.
Yeah.
They will learn because you're asking to think, and learning starts with thinking and having a question. Secondly, you also get, when you ask the question, you get immediately, you can see what their capability is. You are consistently reminded of their capability, strength, and gaps, so you know where to coach. And thirdly, it buys you time. If you don't know the answer, my friend, it buys you time. It's a really good trick. So my tip this week is, don't always default to giving the answer. Please, whenever you can, and the world isn't on fire, ask, what do you think?
Yeah. I think excellent sage advice there, Russell. Really good. So why not try and deploy that over the next few days, folks? It was literally free. And that's the good stuff from Russ. And yeah, as we said previously, we're a bit like the A-team. If you can find us, then sometimes you can hire us. Alan, if somebody wanted to get hold of you, how would they do it?
Yeah, you can catch me through the 3A website. That's www.aabel.co.uk, and drop us a line through the Contact Us section.
And if anybody's really, really desperate and they need to get hold of me, then John at D, as in DEE.uk.net is how you can get hold of me. And Russ, if people want to get hold of you?
www.howigotshreddedandkeptit.
Or
www.sempai.co.uk. And by the way, on questions or comments, if anybody has any tips for us on how to keep a good night shift relationship going with days, or how to be a clean thinker, that would be tremendous.
Yeah, super good.
Plus any other topics that people would like to hear from us, other episodes.
Yeah. But yeah, we look forward to seeing you again real soon. We've been us. We're glad you've been here, and the rest is lean.